We're gonna be making a new enemy for my game in Krita, and I'll just first create the asset or the file for it, and it's gonna be 200 by 200. You want to make sure your file kind of stays consistent with the different assets in your game. And the important part is that, you know, the kind of pixels per unit is the same. So if you have these grids in your game, then each asset should basically have the same amount of pixels per one grid. So for me, that's 200 pixels per one grid square. And I'm gonna make this kind of a tree stump kind of guy. I did a quick sketch on paper, and the enemy is pretty simple. It has this kind of a tree stump looking head, and yeah, it's gonna look pretty bad at first, but I think it'll look much better when we actually clean up the line work a bit. You know, for me, the first version, like, it doesn't need to look good. I just want to know kind of the scale of the different parts and kind of get a first idea of the composition for the sprite. That's like what's important at this stage. So the idea is to have kind of this kind of looking head, and then it's gonna have a hand with some kind of staff that it's gonna use as a weapon. But for now, we're just gonna make the body. The stuff will be added later. And these are gonna be like some kind of leaves and plant thingies that are kind of clothes for this character. And then, you know, the top of the head is gonna be wood, and at some point it's gonna kind of transition into plant. So this is the rough idea. I think that looks pretty decent. Then I might add some mushrooms maybe growing out of the head, and that's gonna be the character. And yeah, again, first step, doesn't need to look like what the end result is gonna be. It's just to give proportion, scale, and some kind of shape. And now that I'm kind of happy with it, let's start to throw some color in. At this point, you don't even have to add color, because this step is only for making sure that it's the right size for the game. So we'll just export it to the game to see what it looks like. Whoops, one more thing. The head should be brown. Not that it matters at this point, but yeah, better. Okay, then we're gonna have to find it in our game. There it is, and just make sure that it has this correct pixels per unit. For me, it's 200 by 200. It's a little too small. I want it a little bit bigger than the player. So I just select both of the layers, and then I can resize it. Control Shift to keep the scale. Well, Shift to keep the scale, actually. Yeah, I think Shift should be enough. Let's see how it looks now. I think that's pretty good. Let's just add a shadow and see it in game just to be sure. At this point, you can actually also take a look at the colors for your sprite. It's a good time to make sure that the colors match the rest of the game as well. Okay, perfect. Then let's just move it so we can see it. Okay. Yeah, I think the scale is good now. It's a little bit bigger than the player. And the colors are indeed not bright. Now, when you're picking colors, the first place you should look for when designing colors is some kind of reference board. That way it's easier to basically pick colors that look good together. But after that, the most important parts are basically how well it contrasts with the level, and so basically, you know, if you're making decorations for the for the kind of the level, you don't want those to be too bright in comparison to the ground and or the background, whatever your game may be like. But if you're making enemy, you want there to be enough separation so that you can clearly like tell the enemy apart from the background of the level. So I think that's a good start. I am starting to like the colors. They're not perfect yet. Yeah. I think we're gonna do, you know, I don't really much pay attention to color theory. But maybe it makes sense to have some kind of triangular jump here. Yeah, guys, I accidentally nailed it. I took the split complementary, I believe, with the purple and green being complementary, and then the tree stump color being the split. Yeah, very nice. Totally not an accident or anything. You might want to try like using these graphs with the harmony things, but I have no idea if they work or if you can just pick colors you like. Usually I find that picking colors that you like work pretty well as well, but that might just be lucky, I guess. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. It's just missing texture and shadow, and I think after that it'll look really nice. So now the outlines are too thick and look pretty bad also in general, but since we rescaled the sprite, it kind of messes up how the outlines look most of the time. So we're just gonna go again and make them more detailed and basically make them look better. And if you want to make your art look good, this is the step that takes the most time. So here, and you know, sometimes the lines you make don't look very good. You can just do them again. I'm very happy with that. I think that looks very good. And just do the legs. And you know, I'm not following the sketch exactly. The sketch was just a sketch. Now that I'm doing the actual lines, I need to be a lot more kind of thoughtful with where I put the lines. And, you know, zoom out every now and then to make sure that it all looks good. Yeah, and I'm just making sure that all the look natural. I think these lines look a little... They can easily look a little mechanical or unnatural, so I just fix them up until I like how they look. I think that's pretty good. Okay, then the body, or the upper body, I guess. And you know, for this character, it's supposed to be like a tree trunk for a head, kind of, something like that anyway. So I don't really mind if the shape of it doesn't make too much sense. So in that sense, this might not be the best example, since some of my other sprites have much more like well thought out shape. But you can still see kind of my process anyway. Yeah, this is the head hole, I guess. Face hole. Yeah, it's a face hole. That's the word. All right. Let's see. I want some kind of bark texture right there. And then for the mushrooms. There we go. Very nice. Yeah, if you break up the lines, it looks like it's actually growing onto the front-facing part of the face. Yeah, I like that. Okay, very good. Then just add some couple lines here on the face to make it look like it's a little more actual wood texture and not just. Alright, and not just some kind of, I don't know, hood or whatever it might be. I think that's very good. I'm very happy with the result. Then to the coloring. So what I do, I take the magic selection brush, select around everything, grow it by around 2 pixels so that it's covering all of the lines. Then I have a shortcut. For me, it's Ctrl-Shift-I, but you have to configure it in the settings and like basically to invert it and then just paint over everything. That's nice. Then I'll grab my color palette over here and then just color in all of the parts with the different colors that I selected. Okay. Yeah, I drew the moss actually the wrong way around, which is a little silly of me. Yeah, it's supposed to be this way around. It's growing upward into the face, not downward into the body. Mistakes happen. Yeah, guys, don't be afraid to like redo stuff. Like especially with the line work, even in the face of actually drawing the lines, you know, the actual digital artists, like Ctrl Z is their most used button. They like use it all the time. So you should also be like very comfortable with every time you don't think line is quite right, just Ctrl Z, try again. Okay, that's looking much better now. And just fix the coloring. Okay, looking good. Now, I think these lines are a little off still. Okay, that's very nice. Now, I think since we made some adjustments, the line work is spilling over a little bit. We can just select and grow it a little bit and just erase everything on the outside. I think that is looking very good. Then from the face area, I'm just gonna color it black and draw in some eyes. I'm actually gonna make it a new layer so it's easier to change the color of the eyes if I don't like them. Okay, I think that's pretty good for now. Then let's do some cleanup. Basically, you know, we went from this to this. So let's delete all the extra layers. And I like to rename them just so it's all, everything is clear. And then you can see, like if you look at the thumbnail here, there's a lot of color on the outside and I don't like that. So I'm just gonna cut everything in the selection. So now there is no excess. Like if you're moving stuff around, it's super annoying if the color from the outside pops in. And finally, before we get to the next shading part, I'm just gonna select the character, grow by like 10 pixels, and then trim to selection so that my canvas is like fitting the character without too much extra space outside. After that, create new layer, call it shading. Then we'll select some kind of bluish color. Turn on the alpha inherit mode so that we cannot draw over the lines. And then we're just gonna set multiply so that we have nice cool shadows. Yeah, and I'm like my style is cell shading, so I'm just gonna use the same brush for the shading. No like smoothing, no airbrushes or anything. And usually I actually like to shade like this. I just color in everything with the shade and then just erasing stuff that's hitting the light. I think that's a good way to shade. It basically makes it so that you think more clearly about like not where's shadow, but instead like where is light. I find that just makes the shadows a bit more consistent, and you don't pretty much ever forget to shade areas. Like maybe you forget to light areas, but I find it's much harder to forget to do that than to forget to shade something. Yeah, and we're gonna do a pretty rough shading job here. And like big focus of it is to oops. The idea here is to just be kind of creative, try to create some texture with the shading. Make it look like it's some like there's some bushy leaves in there. And let's just do the same here. Yeah, don't be afraid to zoom in. See all the details. All right, perfect. Maybe just a little more lighting right here. Alright, something like that. Yeah, again, doesn't have to be perfect. It's gonna be a little smaller on the screen. So just have to make sure that it's kind of giving you an idea of the shape. Then you can afterwards also adjust the color. Alright, that's good. I'll just make sure to remove the shading from the eyes. Then let's export it to the game. And let's take a look. Yeah, I think it looks good. Let's see. Where's our guy? There we go. Yeah, I think it looks great. It really fits the level and the style of the game. Let's make a few more to make sure. Yeah, I think it works. I might want to make the legs and the belt a little more desaturated and dark. I think it's popping out a little bit too much. But this is like one of those things where with experience you'll be able to like think about what you like about it and what you don't like about it. I think maybe the head can stay the same. So let's take a look, before and after look. So before, after. Might even be a little too much. Also, the shading might be a little too much. Let's see. Yeah, I think now it's starting to be really good. So yeah, that's it. The enemy is finished. I added also some little animation on it on a stream in the game dev community. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. I really like how it turned out. Now the attack is actually from the first level, from the crossbow enemy. It surprisingly fits this guy pretty well as well. But I do want to make it a unique attack, just because it's a little silly if it shoots same projectiles as the skeletons from the first level. So yeah, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.